Good afternoon, everybody. Aaron Rath here from Rat's Tesla, and today we've got a video that, while I'm starting the video today, I am not going to finish it today because this one's a little bit more elaborate than what we sometimes do. Not that I can't handle it, it's just going to take me a little bit longer to do it, but I wanted to get started on this video. Today's video is sponsored by a new person, a new group of Tesla accessories, and I'll get to that here in a second. But before I go too far, please make sure you drop down there and hit that subscribe button and the bell button so you get notified when we make a new video. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and what's in this box is really cool. But before we get to this box, I want to thank our sponsor for today. This is from a company called Yeslak. Yeslak is a company that is a professional Tesla modification accessory store, just like a lot of those out there, but these guys have a ton of stuff on their store. So I will put a link in the description down below, but I'll tell you, they have hooked my viewers up. So they have really put a lot of emphasis on making sure that you use my code. I'll put my code down below. I believe it's Rat's Tesla, but I'll have it down below. If you spend $50 as a minimum on your order from them, you get 20% off. But here's the big thing. If you spend $150 or more, they're going to give you 26% off for using my code. So make sure that you use my code. Again, I'll have it down in the description down below so that you can get those big discounts. But without further ado, let's get to an unboxing and first impressions of what we have inside of this box from our friends at Yeslak. I already opened it with a knife, so I didn't have to do it on camera. But let's pull this out. Got a nice bag here. Ooh, this is cool. This is a 10 millimeter huge Allen key. And for those that are into modding and have modded their Teslas before, you know where I'm going with this video now. This probably gives it away. The cool thing is I've done this mod on a lot of my cars, and I have never had a company give me this tool. I've had to purchase it on my own. So I have this tool on my own in a ratchet, but the fact that they include this 10 millimeter hex key this large is a big thing. Let's see what else is inside our little tool bag here. There's a little bag in here. Let's open this up and dump it out and see what's in here. A few things in here. A couple tools that you'll need to help pull plugs and to pry items. This will come into play when you're unplugging the airbag and the controls plug once you're inside. And if you haven't figured out where we're going yet with this accessory, you'll know shortly. But this will be important to help you unplug those plugs. And then the pry tool is going to come into play when we start taking apart the current part of the car. Set those over here. We've got some tape. This tape is going to help us to be able to make sure we just keep all of our wires in line and everything out of the way. We have a little pokey tool, and this pokey tool is going to be used to take the airbag off of your car. And I'm going to get to how you're going to use all these tools when we get to the installation part, but you'll need this to take the airbag off of your current steering wheel. Then again, a ton of tools that I never see from people, and that's a little screwdriver. And this cool thing about this screwdriver, it's kind of got a little thing you press in. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter. It's got Phillips and a blade style. It also comes with a magnetic insert to be able to do other blades, or other bits, excuse me. And then it comes with a Torx bit, two size different Torx bits, and these will come into play when we start taking apart the current steering wheel that's in your car. And that's because that's all the tools that you'll need. That's because the next thing in this box is a Cybertruck inspired steering wheel for the Model Y Juniper. Now, if you've done this mod before, you know that there's a lot of work that has to go into this, but you can tell that for the Juniper, there's a little bit more work because typically they'll come with the center section in here. But since Tesla put so much electronics and everything inside of the steering wheel, inside of the sections of the steering wheel, it's easier for these companies to send you this, which is the base for connectivity and the steering wheel part, and then all the controls will be taken out of the steering wheel that you have in your Tesla and put in this. Easy to do, just takes a little bit of time. Stay with this video. I'm going to walk you through all of the steps in this video of taking the steering wheel apart, putting the guts in this one, and then putting this back on the car. Let's take off this protective sock, and I'll tell you what, this is a quality product. Let me move my table out of the way so I can talk to you about this. This has stitching on the inside here. See if I can get you to see this. This stitching on the inside is very well put together. It's got a plug. This plug will plug in, I'm guessing, for the heated steering wheel part. It's very well made. This is all metal. You can see the grooves on the inside. These will be important for when you start setting up and putting this back on, but it's very well put together. I really like the leather. They offer this in a black Napa leather and a white Napa leather, so you can actually change your steering wheel. If you got the white interior, you could put a white cyber wheel on your car to match it. I have black interior, plus I've had a white wheel on my car before, and when your hands get dirty, it stains it a little bit, so it was a little bit harder to keep clean. So I prefer the black, but if you want the white, by all means, get this in white. So that's what's in the box, and this quality on this is magnificent. I look at this stitching, and I think this is probably better than the stitching than you have on your steering wheel that's in your car now. What I really like about it is on the Juniper, if you look, the stitching is on the back side along the steering wheel. They've moved it to the inside here to make it a much cleaner look and feel. So that'll do it for this part. Let's get out to the Juniper and let's take the steering wheel out that's in there. So that's the first step. The first step in the whole process is removing what's currently in the car. Let's go do that now. But again, make sure you stay with us through this whole video because this is more of a process to install this than just yanking one off and putting one on. So make sure you stay with us. But let's get out to the car now and take the current steering wheel out of the car. All right, so it's the next morning, and I thought I'd get out here and do the install on this Cyber steering wheel in my 2026 Tesla Model Y Juniper. So the first thing we have to do is get this steering wheel off. Now, there's a couple different mindsets here. I've done a steering wheel change probably 10 times or more in a Tesla, and I haven't done this next step, but a lot of people do, and that's to power off the car for safety. So I'm trying to remember where it's at. It's under safety. So if you go into your menu, go to safety, go all the way down to the bottom and hit power off. You'll hit power off and you'll see the car will power down, and that's supposed to take power away from the airbag so it doesn't explode. But again, I've never had an issue, so we'll follow the rules and go with that. So for this first part, in order to take the steering wheel off, we have to remove the airbag first. So you need this handy dandy little tool, and then in the side here, see if I might have to get my phone. Oh, and the trick too to powering off is as soon as you get out of the seat, the power comes back on. So you just have to know that. But let's look on the side here. So you see this little hole. I don't know if you can see it, but right here, there's a little hole. There's one on each side. You're going to kind of push this in, and when you push it in, you'll feel a little resistance. That's the little bar that's in there that's holding this on. I will show you those when I get it off. But you're going to push this in until the airbag clicks. So again, you're just going to kind of put it in that hole. You'll feel around and find the little piece to hold it on, and you'll hear the airbag pop. Once you have patiently gone through and gotten both those to pop, you'll get this pop of the airbag, and you'll see that you have a plug on the back, and that plug goes into the center in here, and that's your airbag holder plug. And I'm going to try and do this with my camera, and because you kind of need two hands here. You're going to use this little tool and kind of slide it in where the pins are so that it pushes them open, and then you should be able to pull the plug out. I have a hard time using that, so what I like to do is just kind of work my hand in there and pull this plug out. So hold on. Okay, so then what you're going to do is, on this plug, these have to be, each one of these little plugs have to be pushed in. So that black tool that I have, you'll see where I set it down, I don't use it because I struggle with it. So what I do is I'll take a screwdriver in and push each one in individually, and then just kind of pull the plug out. So then you see, this is what you have. You can set the airbag aside. We'll reinstall it a little bit later. So this is what you have. So let's look real quick inside here. I'm trying to get a flashlight up. So what you'll see inside here is this steering wheel looks a lot different than the other steering wheels. And we'll have to get a lot of these wires out of here, out of the way. There's the tool. You can't see it, but on the back side, well, you can't even see it on this one. I'll have to show it to you as I take this apart, but there's a spring load in there. So now the next step is to get this big nut out of here, because this big nut is what's holding the steering wheel to the column, and we're going to eventually have to take this plug out as well. So we'll go ahead and take this plug out, and then get this bolt out with this. So this is your big Allen key you got, and you're gonna have to put your knees up here, and this has got a lot of pressure on it, and work to get that out. So I'll try and show as much as I can, but I can't make any promises because this is a very big two-hand operation. First thing I want to do is get the other plug out. So I need to be able to see in there. So I'm going to get this other plug out of the way, because this plug is what plugs in all the accessories on the steering wheel, all the buttons on the steering wheel. And what you'll notice, right now I have one error on the screen, and it says safety restraint issue, right? Because I have the airbag undone. But as soon as I get this plug out, it'll give me another error on the screen. Again, patience, and then I got it. So that's unplugged, and I just got another warning. It says steering wheel buttons and horn are unavailable. Now it's time to use this, and what you're going to do is you want the steering wheel to be locked, so you want to make sure that it doesn't freely spin like this, because there's no way that you can get it done. But I like to have it nice and even. Okay, not sure where we were there, but had a business call to take. So this is the tool that I like to use. This has the 10 mil hex on the end, an extension, and then this ratchets a little bit. And you'll notice that it's just a little bit longer. It's probably an inch longer than this. And what I've noticed is, while this is great that they give it to you, you're rubbing on the steering wheel here, and I don't want to rub on it, and it's harder to get leverage. So we're going to put this one in and use this one. And I have it set to tighten, so we want to be careful there. So just going to kind of, like I said, this takes some muscle. You just got to muscle it in. Sometimes it's better to be outside the car. Sometimes it's better to be inside the car and be able to put your knee on the steering wheel and hold it in place. It's all about where you can get leverage and where you can get that nut loose, because it is on there strong. Once you break it loose, pop yourself in the face maybe, then it's just a matter of unscrewing this bolt. And you can do it. I popped myself right in the eye. Once you can use this big hunker and just kind of back it out. You're going to set this aside. This is the big bolt that you took out. You'll notice it has yellow Loctite on there. And with that, we should be at the place where we can pull this out. And you're just going to wiggle it out, and you'll see that it comes out. And then you have your steering wheel piece here. You have your steering wheel piece here with alignment plugs and the 2 plugs here. So just leave that there. We're going to take this steering wheel in the house because now we have to take this apart. And you're going to need your tool bag to be able to do that. So let's head to the kitchen table and let's get this taken apart and get these guts onto the cyber wheel. All right, so now we have to take the guts out of this to get them put in the cyber wheel. The good thing about Yeslak is they give you all the tools that you need to do this. So as you look in here, you'll see that there's a bunch of screws, different screw sets that we need to take out, because we have to take out this whole piece across the front, and we have to be able to remove this back piece. So the first thing we're going to do is, I see 4 Phillips screws here. We're going to dump our tools out here on our nice pink beach towel. We're going to get the little screwdriver set out. We're going to put this on here, and we're going to take out these 4 screws on the back. Set them aside so that you don't lose them, and keep them all together by what part of the steering wheel they are on. So I'll keep all 4 of these back screws together as long as they're all the same length. Looks like the top ones and the bottom ones are all the same, so I can just keep them together on the side here and not have to worry about mixing them up with each other. They're all the same size. And taking these out is not going to have these plastic pieces flop off. I can see that there's 2 screws from the other side that are still holding this plastic on. But by doing this, then I can get this turned over, and now we can look on the inside. Now as I look on the inside, I see these big Allen keys that we're going to take out, and that is this little bolt size, or excuse me, key size. So we'll put in that piece as well as here, and now we're going to remove these 3. I got 1, 2, 3. We'll remove those. Once those 3 are out, this top layer gets loose, but there's a little plug here on the side that we need to pop out, and it just slides on there. Pop it out, and then we can pull this piece out in the spring. So now that I have this off, this little bar right here that I'm pointing at, that's what you're pushing on to release these springs so that this pops loose. This is the horn mechanism. So these springs here, when you push the horn, these connectors or these pieces touch base in the back and close the circuit and honk the horn. So we'll set that aside. So now we're left with this on the inside. Now we just got to take it apart so that we can pull the other pieces out. I see a Phillips screw in here with like a ground. We're gonna take that off. That's towards the top of the steering wheel. Because it looks like to me, once we get this ground screw off, then the only screws left are the two that remain holding the two plates or the two sections together, the front and the back. So get this little black one out of here. Now, if you remember, there's a wire that comes out of the bottom. So when we're taking this apart, you want to be very careful not to just yank it apart so that we don't damage that wire. So get this little black screw out of the back, set that aside, and that is the one, see, I already done. That is the one holding this little ground loop on in the top. I don't know if you can see it. Then I just have two screws left to go. And that's holding these wires or these pieces together. You can make this a little bit longer, so make it as long as you can to get in there. And this is just Phillips screws, and they're not super hard on there because they're holding plastic in. So you don't want to over tighten these when you put them back on, and we'll get to that. And those are silver screws, so we'll set those aside here. There's two of those, and as I take this last one out, this back plate, this back section should easily come apart because there's nothing holding it on. So here's the other one. So now if I flip it back over, no screws holding that on, no screws holding that on. Now we just have to get this all pried apart. Whoa. So on the back side here, when you pry that, you got to be careful because you will fling these. You're just going to kind of pry, and that pops this piece off. You're just kind of letting these clips loose. But that then opens this up. So now I can just pull on the back there and pull this back piece apart, and that pulls this main piece off. Back here in the back is a little like U-shaped thing that you have to pop off. And guess what? There are a couple hidden screws in there. So let's get that popped out of there very carefully because it is very bendy plastic. Very bendy plastic, and then you'll notice inside there are 4 Phillips head screws holding this piece on. So that's why you don't pull on things hard, because you want to be able to find little hidden screws like that. So we'll take these 4 out. Take these 4 out and set them off to the side. I like to group them so that I make sure I get the right screws back in the right spots. Take those 4. Once those 4 are loose, you can see that this section separates. Set the screws there. This whole section separates. This piece comes off the front, and then it'll come off the back, but there is a wire that is run through here. You can see this wire that's kind of clipped in here, and it's holding this in place. That's the wire that's on the other wheel. So we're going to kind of just slowly pry this out and pull it through. It is this blue clip on the side here. We're just going to pull those apart. Pull the blue and the black apart. The blue goes with the buttons, but that black comes through here. And then we're just kind of able to pull this off of the screws right there in the bottom. And comes off like that. And this is what you're left with. And this is the wire that is in the other wheel. So we're almost there. We just have the button pieces and this bar across the back to come loose. So the buttons, if we look underneath, there are 4 little Allen bolts in there, and you have a little Allen bit here. So we'll get that put in. Looks like I have 3 per button. So we'll get those taken out. There's one on what would be the top and then two on the bottom. So get those taken out, and they're really small. So you just want to be careful that you don't lose these, because if you do, you're going to create a rattle in your steering wheel, or you're going to have to go try and find something to match. Really little. So little I can't quite get it out of there. So this is what they look like. Very, very little. So we'll set those aside over here. We have 6 of those to take out. As soon as you get the last one taken out, you can feel the buttons start to drop. And it's hung in there because I can't get it, so we'll grab that out in a second. If you can't get the screw out, just leave it kind of sitting in there, and then when you turn the steering wheel over, just be very careful that you don't lose it. So like these 2 that are covered by the wires, I'm having a hard time getting out of there. I'll just kind of leave them in there. And as I take this last one out, so now I got 3 that are loose. I'm just going to kind of do this, and all 3 of those dropped out. So now I have those 6 set to the side over here. Now this whole button piece just pulls out, and you will see that on the back there is a little zip tie with a plug that plugs in here, and you just take your pry tool and just push on that, and it'll push out of the opening. Well, it should. I just broke my pry tool. You can also put in the blade screwdriver piece and use that to push down because it's metal. You're just going to kind of pull on it and push down to pop that out, and if you have to pry from underneath, you can do that as well. You just don't want to break this little clip because that holds the wiring in place. Okay, once you have those out, now you should be able to just pull the buttons free. Oh, there's one more in the back. It's right there. And that one is going to be a bugger to get to. So we're just going to kind of set the wheel down and press on it until we get enough room in the front to be able to pry. Oh, even easier. If you just press on it, it just pops loose. So now we have a bare steering wheel. All the guts that need to go on the cyber wheel are laying right here on the table. So let's go switch this out, grab the cyber wheel, and then let's get that one put together. All right, we're almost there. Now it's just the reassembly into the cyber wheel. So we're just gonna go in reverse order. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put in our buttons. So I'm just gonna kind of set them down in place, get the wires-ish where they need to go so that they're through, and press these button places into place. And then I'm gonna go through, and the first thing I'm gonna do is get my little zip tie wire things pushed through, holding this wire in place. So you're just gonna kind of go through these 3 and push them back into place. So that's 1, 2, and then the third one's over here, 3, and that'll just hold those wires into place. Now we get these buttons pushed up, and we're gonna get the wires put, or the little screws put into place. So again, remember, that is this little piece here. So take our screwdriver, put that in, and we're just gonna, these 6 little screws, we're just gonna get started. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the 2 easy ones started so that it holds it in place, because you can see as you flip it upside down, it tends to fall out. So I just want to get 2 started to hold it into place, 1 on each side, so that I can then move it around without it falling out. So once I have those 2 in, now I can go back and put the 4 remaining in. But as of now, you can now see that this is back in place and these are lined up in the corners. So let's go through and get these other 4 screws put into place. And remember, you don't want to over tighten this stuff because you're tightening into plastic. So if you over tighten it, you will break things and create a rattle or have something that you need to replace. And yeah, since you're doing all of this, you are taking your steering wheel itself probably out of warranty, which isn't really a big deal. Like I said, I've done this so many times. When I traded in my last, I took the cyber wheel that I had on that one, put the other steering wheel back on, and nobody was the wiser. They didn't even know. So just be careful as you're doing this whole process and you won't have any issues at all. So once we have those 6 back in, we can see that our buttons on the front are locked into place and line up very nicely with the corners of the cyber wheel. Now we have to take this back piece and go to the back side because we're going to kind of line it up, slide it over those screw holes. You want to get this wiring all out of the way, and this blue wire, you need to make sure that you get through to the inside. We're just going to kind of slowly go through and get these into place. Again, you want to be very careful not to force it, but once you have it into place, it looks like this, right? It's not on there perfect, but we're going to get to the perfect as we start putting everything together. You are going to have to force it or push it a little bit, but the next thing we're going to do is we need to run this black wire and tuck it in to the little clips that are on the side of the wheel, or on the side of this black casing, I should say. Run it through there, and now we're going to plug it in to the blue plug. Push it on there nice and tight, and then tuck it out of the way, because it's going to go down inside here and tucked out of the way. So it gets tucked down in there nice and tight. So now we have that piece. So now we're going to take this front part and kind of snap it into place, flip over, and now we've got to get these other 4 screws to line up and hold this front piece onto the back piece. So there's some holes on the back you have to line up. Once you get those lined up, I need to switch my screwdriver out to the Phillips head. Once you get those lined up, again, okay, my little screwdriver's letting loose. Once you get those lined up and get those holes all so the screw goes through there, you're going to just kind of work this through and get these screws put together, or get this 2 plates put together. And again, you're screwing into plastic, so you want to be very, very careful. Gonna get those lined up and just start one. You don't want to go tight because you're gonna have to move it and make adjustments to get the rest into place. So my little screwdriver went kaput on me, so I might have to go grab a Phillips screwdriver to be able to finish this, because this bit's going to continue to fall out of here. So again, you just want to make sure you get these all through the holes. So you're going to line them up, and once you have it through, very gently screw it in, because again, plastic, right? You got to be very careful here. You don't want to break the plastic. Once you have it started, just kind of stop. You don't want to over tighten because you still have screws to put in. So Right, I'm back with my different screwdriver, so continue to put these 4 screws in. Again, don't want to over tighten. You're going to hear me harp on that because that's important to understand. If you over tighten, you will break. So once you have these 4 screws started, I would suggest that you kind of look at the front, make sure everything is lined up as it should be. You still have all your pieces in place, right? Because these are all going to go here. And then we're just going to kind of slowly and carefully tighten these up to pull the 2 pieces together. And as you do that, you'll feel it tighten into place and kind of lock into place. And we'll look at it from the front here in just a second. So as you get those tight, then you'll be able to look and see that this is lined up really nice across the bottom. So then we can go through and we can take our little black U plastic and put it back on here. You can see this is where it goes. We're just gonna pop it into place and it'll stay right there. So now we are going to get our 2 plastic pieces put into place. And now as I look at it, it'll be a lot easier if we take this one and put these screws in the back to hold this piece into place. So get these 2 going on the back here, and that will set up these 2 pieces. These go into metal, so you don't have to be as concerned about damaging it, but you just want to be careful that you're not cross-threading it, that you get them put in there right, not cross-threading it, and just get them put into place and get them tightened down. Tighten down nice, and now this bottom plastic piece is in place and locked in. Now we're going to start just filling in the guts a little bit. Now I have this little bolt ground plug in, so we're going to take this one and just put it through there and get that started. And you're just going to screw that down into place, because we're doing all of this so that we can get the other part, the main horn piece, into place. That's really the biggest piece we have left to put in, besides the other black plastic piece, which we're going to do next. So that little screw is in place. All my wires are tucked through nicely like they should be. We can go ahead and snap on our buttons. So those just pop into place. Find the holes where they line up and just kind of pop them back on. Make sure that they push where they're supposed to. And yeah, so this is starting to look like the steering wheel again. So you can see now it's all put back together on the outside. Now we're going to take this back piece and we're going to get it slid into place. So it just kind of slides on into place, and there's some black plastic tabs that you need to make sure they slide back in behind here. So you can see I have them slid into place, and we're just going to kind of pull this slowly down into place and slowly get it worked in so that everything lines up. Now, when you're doing that, these tabs for this need to be underneath these tabs. So I may have jumped the gun a little bit, tightening down my other screws. So we're going to loosen those up just a little bit so that I have a little bit of wiggle room in here. So loosen those up. Then we've got a little bit of wiggle room here where we can get those tabs underneath there. And once those tabs are underneath, then we can just slowly start pulling this all together just going to kind of work your way around and squeeze it into place. You might have to just kind of pop this up a little bit so that that slides in and pops in like that. We'll do the same thing on the other side. You probably could have put this piece in first, but to me, it just seems like you want that other piece in first, and then you kind of slide these together, and then everything just kind of snaps into place. You just kind of squeeze it into place, and yeah, everything's lined up nice and tight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get all the back screws put in and tighten down. Again, these are into metal, so you don't have to worry about too tight, but you do want to make sure you're not cross-threading them. But you want to get them down nice and tight because this locks in the plastic around the steering wheel itself. So we're almost there. Stick with us. We're about 5 minutes from getting this installed back in the car and looking at it what it looks like. If you remember what the steering wheel looks like, when we get to that point, I'll put up a couple comparison shots. But I mean, we are just about done. We are done now on the back side. We have a couple plugs on the inside. We have this one that plugs in the buttons. That'll get plugged into the car when we get in there. We have the ground plug that'll slide on to the side of our horn. And then we have this blue plug, and we need to make sure that that blue plug is tucked down and out of the way. Because now we have two more little screws to put in. We have these metal screws to put in from the front or from the inside that hold the back together on the back side. So get that metal one started and just kind of line up your holes on the back side. You're lining up these holes right here where my thumb's at and screwing this in. And again, this is into plastic, so you don't want to over tighten. You're just going to kind of loosely put that in, and you'll see the metal piece popping through there. Now we'll do the other side of that, and then all we have left to do is put the horn in. So get that lined up, screw that in place. Now the other thing you need to do is you kind of need to go through, and I missed this when I was doing it, but this little piece of leather got stuck out. So I'm just going to use my pry tool and kind of pry that back into place and get that back in there. When you're putting this back plate on, you just need to make sure that you have all of that in place. But if you don't, like I said, it's very easy to use the pry tool and push it down in there and get it all lined up and looking good. Well, take our little screwdriver and we are going to get the horn in place. So want to make sure that this red cable is out of the way in the center, and then we're going to just lay this down and it'll kind of fit into place. You can kind of feel where it has to go. The springs kind of slide into place. Then we'll get these longer bolts here, and we're going to take these and just one by one start them. You don't want to tighten them all down yet, because you'll notice that as you do that, it starts compressing the spring. So we're just going to start each one of them, and then we'll go back through and tighten them down. And as you look at them, they have screw and then they have a stop. We're going to tighten them down to that stop, and that is as tight as they need to be for the horn to have its functionality in place. So get those all started. Once we have those all started, then we can slowly tighten them tighten them down. There's no need to go back and forth and do one then the other and slowly do them. You're just going to tighten these all down until they hit that flat part, and then it'll stop tightening, and then you'll know that you've reached bottom. Okay, 2. 3. And now you'll see in here, we're nice and tight, but this has some spring to it. It has a little bit of spring to it. You can hear that, to be able to close up and get the horn in place. Now we just have one more little plug to slide on, this little tab piece for the ground for the horn. You need to slide that on, and now we have all of the guts put back into this wheel. So let's get out to the car and get it put in the car. All right, now we're back in the car, and you can see where we left, and you can see the wheel. So inside here, I don't know if I can show this to you, but inside here, there's one little tab piece right there. You see that little, all the teeth, and then there's that one little blank, and there's one on the top and the one on the bottom. Those line up to that piece there. It can only go on one way. You cannot mess this up. So you're just going to kind of put that on, get those lined up. Once you have them lined up, you're just going to kind of wiggle it back and forth until you get them, until you get the steering wheel on. Once you've got it slid mostly into place, you'll see your 2 yellow plugs. Well, you see the one down here is lined up, and then your plugs are lined up. Then you're going to take this plug, this bolt, and you want to start it by hand. And it's kind of why I like the extension, because you can start it by hand. You do not want to take your wrench right away to it, because you will strip it out. You want to do it slowly. So, okay, once we have it started, then we're going to throw a wrench on there. Make sure I put it to tighten. And we're just going to kind of slowly tighten it in there. And you'll notice that everything starts to suck completely into place. And we're just going to slowly do that. Everything in the back should suck into place. You'll notice your yellow plug popping through, your plugs for your for the backside popping through. And honestly, you're just going to tighten this as tight as you can. Okay, so just lock your legs underneath it and tighten it as tight as you can. Once you've got it as tight as you can, you're done. You're not going to pull that steering wheel off of there. You're not going to pop it loose. You're going to go through then, plug in, go through then, you'll plug in the red plug. You push that in, you should see your buttons light up. You should be able to test them out now. If I push this one, we'll see if the speaker comes on, and it does. So can push that one, cancel it. Cameras works. Headlights, they flash. I don't know if you can see it. And then the windshield wipers. The windshield wipers don't work if the car is not in an on position. So test them out, everything works. Now all that's left to do is to get your airbag put in, plugged in, and make sure your horn work. To do that, you're just going to kind of hold this up here, and we're going to take this yellow plug and plug it in the back. It can only go in one way. Okay, once it's in, push it till it clicks, and your warning should go away. Now we're going to take this piece and just kind of set it in here and slowly line it up. And you're just going to slowly push it in. And you can feel the resistance, but that's okay. You're just going to push until you click and make sure your horn works. So now we have a fully assembled, fully installed Cyber wheel in the Model Y Juniper. Let's take some looks at this thing, how good it looks in here. Man. Very well made product. Everything lines up really good, and it just looks so good in the car. Well, that's it. That's the installation process. Now we get to drive it. But you're gonna have to come back for another video for that and watch our impressions, our first impressions of the drive with the Cyber Wheel and how much different it is to drive the car. So make sure that you are subscribed. You hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button. That way you're notified when I do that drive and when I get to use this for the first time. But that'll do it for today's video. I want to thank our friends at Yeslak for sending this product over. Again, I'll have links in the description. Great discount codes. If you spend more than $50, you get 20% off. If you spend more than $150, you get 26% off. Look at this Cyber Wheel. Look at the price and look at the discount that it gives you. I'm going to put it right here just because I want to show it to you. But that'll do it for today's video. As always, get out, go drive, be safe, have fun, and be nice to people around you. Be kind. You don't know what they're going through. And we will catch you in the next video.